Hey guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the One More Piston Fit Bluetooth, or BT for short. Now these earphones come in at around $30 to $30, obviously in the UK and US. Links will be down in the description below, and also down there you'll find a set of alternatives that you might want to consider. Now these earphones, as the name might suggest, are Bluetooth earphones. What you get in the box is the earphones themselves, charging cable, which is a micro USB to USB cable, and a set of extra silicone tips. Now in terms of the build quality and design of the earphones, I must say I'm pretty impressed with what One More have done over here. They're very simple but yet effective, but that's if you like a neckband design. Personally, I'm not a big fan of neckband designs simply because they often are not that convenient for me. However, your mileage may vary and you might very much like this. So when it comes to the actual design of the earphones, the cable over here is a flat or semi-flat cable, therefore means that it won't get tangled easily. So as you might just be able to see over here, as you can see, it pretty much untangles instantaneously. And then these two little plastic pods over here sit on either side of your shoulders, slash, might dangle off your neck depending on the size of your neck. And then these then connect up to the earphones themselves. Now what I did find with this sort of design is that there is a slight amount of microphonics or cable noise, which is more commonly known as when you have your shirt or let's say jumper or whatever might have you brushing against these plastic parts and or this little thinner cable. This does mean it can distract from the overall experience, your audio journey so to speak, because you will hear sort of noises being reverberated to your eardrums. But aside that, I had no sort of complaints with the design and build quality of the earphones. They're very sleek looking, they look very pretty, as you can see, with a gunmetal type of look. They've got a magnetic design, which means that they're a little bit more convenient when you're tucking them away and or having them dangle around your neck. Then in terms of the design of the earphones themselves, they're very much comfortable to wear, very lightweight, sit at sort of an angle as well, and therefore most people will be accustomed to this type of design. It's more of a traditional design, so to speak, and I have to say that they don't attract that much wind noise either, so therefore if you're going to be taking them on the go, and which is what I would expect you to, but if you're taking them on the go and there's a lot of wind, then you're not going to be kind of distracted by that huge amount of wind noise that some other earphones or most of its competitors actually suffer from, again at this price point. Now in terms of controls, you've got a little control pod over here. It doesn't use a traditional 3-button approach. Instead you've got 4 buttons. One is dedicated to on and off. Then you've also got a plus and minus for volume, then a play and pause button, which also triples up as a previous and next button for controlling your media. Then under this little flap you've got a micro USB charging port. Now this can be a little bit tricky to get out, and that's simply because these earphones are IPX4 certified, which means they've got water resistance. What does that mean? Essentially, if you've got to get some light rain on it, then you're not going to have any problems taking these out. If you're going to submerge them, then sayonara, you're not going to be able to hear your earphones anymore. So worth bearing that in mind. In terms of charge time, it takes around 1 to 2 hours to charge, and in terms of battery life, expect around 8 hours, because obviously your mileage may vary depending on how you interact with your earphones and what volume you use them at and whatever have you, but it's worth bearing in mind that expect around 8 hours, so that's good enough for pretty much 3 full days of commuting. Now, other than that, in terms of the actual design and build quality of the earphones, I should also mention that the actual housing itself is really well built. It doesn't feel cheap or too plasticky, so to speak, and as I said before, the gunmetal type of look does mean it looks kind of a little bit more classy than some of the other budget earphones at under £30. So now, moving on from that, let's talk about connectivity. These connect over Bluetooth, as you might probably be expecting at this point, but they use the SBC codec only. I'm a little bit disappointed not to see the AAC or aptX codec included. aptX might be a stretch, but AAC was somewhat expected given that some of its competitors or even cheaper competitors actually offer the AAC and SBC codec. Why should you care? Well, simply because AAC delivers slightly better audio quality over SBC in terms of a Bluetooth transmission, and for iPhone user you might find that the audio delay between phone and earphones will be very much reduced. Nevertheless, I was able to test on Android because that's the phone platform that I use, and I had no problems in terms of audio delay or lip sync issues. So worth bearing that in mind if you're an Android and or an iOS user. Now, moving on from that, I should also mention in terms of Bluetooth range, I had no problems walking at around 10 to 15 meters away from my phone through a few walls, and I had no problems in terms of connectivity and or when I was interacting with the earphones and therefore, let's say changing my media. So in terms of connectivity, no problems whatsoever, and as I said, battery life as well goes into that. Now moving on from that, let's talk about the recording quality. Recording quality, aka call quality, is decent. It's not amazing, just bear in mind these are budget earphones. More premium earphones offer better noise cancelling mics and or offer better microphones altogether, but nevertheless the One More earphones haven't got the best sort of call quality. The small little microphone positioned over here gets a decent amount of sort of sound quality that you'd expect from a call. However, it is prone to getting a lot of interference from external sounds. So if you're in a busy street, you might be better just going back to your smartphone and actually talking to your person who you're calling over your smartphone. Now moving on from that, let's talk about the sound quality, and that to me was actually really impressive. This was an actual really nice sounding set of earphones. Now the reason I say that is because the overall sound frequency of these earphones is pretty well rounded. It doesn't sound overly bassy, nor does it sound overly treble focused. It has a nice sort of frequency range. Now starting from the sub bass, I felt that it had a kind of non-existent sub bass. It has a small little extension over here, but for a set of £30 earphones it was somewhat expected. Mid bass, however, was a completely different element. I had a nice sort of strong slam, but it was completely controlled and wasn't overpowering the mid-range. Whereas other earphones under the £30 price tag, what you'll find is that the mid bass kind of overpowers the mids and therefore gives you kind of like a V-shaped, super V-shaped sound signature. This wasn't the case with the One Mores, and what they've done over here with tuning the 10mm titanium dynamic driver, as they call it, was actually very impressive. In terms of the mid-range, the the lower mids weren't as affected from that mid-bass slam. However, there is a sort of element of being recessed. It doesn't sound like a completely flat-shaped earphone, and yes, you will hear that the vocals don't come out as well as a set of, let's say, £100 or £200 earphones, but in its price category, these were actually kind of a class-leading type of earphone when it came to vocals. So the lower mids and upper mids did really well. Then moving on to the highs, I felt that these brought out a really nice sort of crystal sort of sound at the top end. It didn't sound overly recessed or sound cut off at the high tones. Of course, again, this is all price relative. If you're comparing it to much more expensive earphones, you will hear that this doesn't sound as, like, I don't know, sparkly at the top end. What was even more impressive over here was the fact that they didn't have any sort of sibilance. I didn't feel they were uncomfortable for long periods of listening or high volume levels of listening. And what was even better, kind of rounding up all those frequencies, was the fact that the soundstage brought all those frequencies really well together and delivered a really nice overall sound presentation. By that I mean it's got a good sort of depth and sort of width to the sound. You don't feel like it's a claustrophobic, close type of sound. It sounds really nice throughout this frequency range. So overall, I must say, when it came to the soundstage and how that brought all the sound frequencies together, I was really impressed to hear how these earphones turned out. And this is something, again, that it kind of differentiates itself from other earphones at the £30 price category. Very impressive to hear, see what One More have done for only £30. So overall, in terms of sound quality, I must say I'm very impressed. And therefore kind of leads me on to my conclusion. Would I recommend these earphones? Well, if you're looking for a neckband type of design of earphone and you want great sound quality and a nice design, I can't think of a better set of earphones than the One More Piston Fit BT. However, if you don't like a neckband design and might find the kind of the cable noise a little bit irritating, then you might want to consider the Anker SoundBuds Slim instead. They're cheaper and don't have this sort of design, and yet sound not as good, but almost as good as the One More earphones. I will also say that in terms of portability, in terms of this neckband design, I would have really liked if one more included a sort of pouch. It would have made portability a lot easier and therefore made it just a little bit more accessible to take on the go. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed my honest, unpaid, unbiased review. If you have, make sure you give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, favorite and share if you found this video helpful, and if you feel like a family member might be wanting to see this. And definitely ask me down in the comments below if you've got any question with the earphones or any sort of recommendations that you think that you're looking between two earphones. Which one would I suggest? Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye bye.